Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what is truth? Not the surface answer, not what we have been told, but the deep, quiet question underneath. What if everything we know about reality, about who we are, is just one layer of a much bigger story? Today, we are asking the questions most of us think about in the middle of the night but rarely say out loud. Welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I am Sreemedha, and this is where we talk about the stuff, the inner work, and ideas that shift how we see ourselves and the world around us. And joining me tonight is Alan Gillanders. Alan, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Sreemedha. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and I'm hoping that your listeners will get some information that may open their minds to the greater reality.
Absolutely, and it's an entire pleasure on our part to have you. And listeners, Alan is an author and thinker who explores the ideas of consciousness, higher awareness, and the deeper meaning behind our lives. So, Alan, to begin with, when a lot of people say that they're searching for truth, they don't usually always stop to ask themselves what truth actually is. So, how do you explore consciousness or deeper reality from a lens of truth?
Yes, that is a good question, and it is difficult on the surface to look at what is truth when you can't touch it or feel it or measure it. You can't see it or anything. So, when we say truth, people might think, is this the truth of what we're talking about, like in law or in religious studies or what we learn at school? They are all sort of truths, but the real truth that we really want to search for is why we are here and what we are and where we're going to and who created us. These are the real truths that we all would like to know that they don't really teach us in institutions of universities or mum and dad teach us really, because that sort of question is a little bit vague, where, as I said, you can't measure it or touch it or see it. So the truth that I have discovered, because I've been searching for many years, was that things didn't seem right in what I was being taught. So the truth is the part we're not being taught. And the truth is that we are all creators of the reality around us. We are connected to the divine energy of the universe that we might call God or Buddha or Allah or Jesus. Very many different names, Shiva. These are things that we just have a label name given to that divine energy power. We know it's there, we feel it's there, we can call it love, but we can't actually measure it, but we know that that is there. So that truth is where we've come from and living within us all the time, guiding us. So we can actually tap into that truth and create our reality and affect our happiness in this earth.
Absolutely, and that's such a beautiful way to look at it. So, Alan, when someone realizes that their version of truth might be a limited one, where do they usually go from there? I mean, how do they think about it at a deeper level?
That is good to have these questions in everyone's mind because the review that someone may have on what they believe is truth could be very different to another person. And this is fine to let them have this. We shouldn't try and change people's views or thoughts because it is part of their journey. And the only way to learn is to travel the journey, ask the question, and listen to the answers. From other people is good, reading books is good, but sitting in quiet stillness and asking your divine presence, your true higher consciousness, which is the reality that we may call God or divine energy, we ask that in the silence. So turning off social media, going for a walk in the park and sitting quietly somewhere away from all the noise and distractions and no TV and just sit quietly. And these messages will start drifting into your mind because this is how the divine energy communicates to you. Everyone has a slightly different angle on it. And I think that everyone is allowed to have their own different views and not to force them onto other people, because everyone um, may get a little bit upset if other people are trying to push that, like my religion, your religion, my God, your God. Oh, that is not correct. Well, there's nothing really exactly correct because it's the way you're looking at it. But the energy of God is still there. The energy of love, the energy of divine universe is only one. And we all tap into that same one, but we're allowed to have different views and different ideas of the name.
Totally. I think this is where we need to shift our understanding from certainty to curiosity. And I think that's an honest way and a good way to start, I would suggest.
Yes, it is. And we have to all start somewhere, sometimes as a child, and sometimes when we're 60, 70, 80 years old. There's no correct place. It is when you feel ready to start asking the questions instead of accepting what is given to us. So all our life learning, well, some people are struggling to have an academic career and other people are doing a physical career, manual sort of work. It depends on what you really like. And so not to become obsessed by these, because when we pass away, they're of no use at all. But trying to understand who we really are on that journey is very important. And this creates an awareness of that we are the divine creators of our own destiny and our own energy.
Absolutely. And Alan, you talk about consciousness not just being something the brain creates, but something that we might be receiving or tuning into. So if consciousness is more like this, a sort of a receiver, then how does that change the way we think about who we are or what happens when the body stops?
So the consciousness or higher consciousness is the same, but consciousness is not the same as conscious. So conscious reality is what we physically see and touch and smell and breathe. These are conscious things that our five senses are aware of, attached to our body. The higher consciousness or consciousness is the intangible energy that is not different from us. It is not disconnected. It is always there, but we are focusing more on the conscious reality. So becoming aware that we are consciousness is really our prime goal, to learn that what we truly are. We are divine energy in a human being, the form of a human being, having a human experience, to experience those five senses, not to be obsessed by them, but to enjoy the journey, the taste, the sights, touch, smell, sound. These are all part of our journey as a human being. But the conscious mind, the consciousness, the higher consciousness is the divine energy that is not disconnected. It is always with you. For those that maybe have a Christian background, Jesus said, "My Father and I are one." So the higher consciousness is the Father, the divine energy, and the physical body is the Son. So we are not ever going to be disconnected. Uh, we are divine energy, and we came into this human being experience to have a human experience.
Absolutely. And this is such a good way to look at it. And Alan, since we have this idea of everything being connected and that we are all the part of the same underlying reality, how do you think that this might show up in our regular life and maybe in small moments in our choices and how we move through a normal day? And do you think this has got to do something with our higher consciousness or our understanding of ourselves?
This is the interesting part, to understand ourselves, because we look at ourselves as a physical being, and everything else we look at as physical, like trees and buildings and cars and animals and other people. This is an illusion. The illusion is that we are all made up of cells. As a human being, we're made up of 50 trillion cells, perhaps more. So plants and animals and steel and cars are also made up of cells, maybe less, and sometimes more. So in those cells is the electrons, the protons and the neutrons. These are inside the atoms. And inside the electrons, we have quarks. Inside the quarks, we have just strings of energy. So the strings of energy are just negative and positive vibrating strings and nothing solid. Everything is made up of this. The steel, the earth, the rocks, the trees, the animals, and us are all made of the same strings of energy, just in different sequences and different amounts. So therefore, reality and what we see is really an illusion. We are focusing on the physical shape of things, but in essence, we're all connected to that higher consciousness because that's where we all came from. So we are all one with each other. Having energy that is not good towards another person or something affects ourself as well as the other person, but predominantly affects ourself first because that's where the energy is being created in our own mind. So become aware that we're all in the illusion of reality, but we came here, or never forget that part, is to enjoy a human experience. Because as a divine energy, you can't enjoy a human experience. You can't enjoy a rainbow when you're divine energy because you are the rainbow. You can't enjoy the taste of sugar because you are made up in the um, strings of energy and vibration that makes the sugar. You are it. So you can't taste it. Only a human being can taste it. You can listen to beautiful music, but as a non physical, higher conscious energy, you are the music. So this is the reason why we come in a human being, the divine energy of the universe creating itself in a human form. And if you can try and remember that's what we are, you live a much happier life.
Totally. And this makes just so much sense. And, you also write about manifestations, Alan, and this is something that is very much in trend, I would say, and very popular these days. But you write it not as the sort of wishful thinking, but it seems like something that flows from awareness, intention, and emotion. So, how does this look like in practice, and is it any different from the popular notion of manifestation that we have today?
It is the same manifestation that when we see magicians do tricks, and obviously they are tricks and very clever. But when you look back at the ancient yogis and siddhis, and even in the Christian days of thousands of years ago with Jesus creating miracles, but no different than Shodi Baba creating miracles or back in the days of Krishna, the miracles. The miracles are just really something that happened, an event that as a human being we can't explain it. That's the really only the miracle. The event that happened is basically the frequency vibration cells coming together to form a physical object. And when that happens, wow, we think that was a miracle because we don't understand how that actually worked. But we are actually connected to that and we create that to happen. And when you actually believe that will happen, they do happen. And most of the time, in small ways, every day, everyone is having these happen. And what we think to ourselves, well, that was very lucky, or that was a great coincidence. But when you keep getting lots of coincidences, you think, there's so many coincidences. Am I aligning myself with other things? Well, yes, you are. But we look at too many things in the physical world and get distracted and forget all about that. But we are creating all the time. Where we're creating good or bad, we're still creating. So, this is the part of manifestation that your mind is constantly creating. And when you believe it with emotion, things start to happen. Now, in 1938, Einstein said, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. So our minds are creating a vibration. When we speak the words, the vibration becomes physical. That vibration now affects the field, and the field shapes the particle. So, yes, we are affecting the field and shaping the particle by our thoughts. But when we speak them, they become reality. So, I hope that explains a little bit there.
Absolutely, it does. And Alan, so if someone's trying to create that sort of change, but maybe their inner state is still stuck in fear or doubt, how do you shift that?
The I can't give you an exact answer, but if it was me, I'm not stuck in that. But I would suggest that to become at peace with yourself first, and then maybe your so-called enemies, which is making you unhappy, could be your partner, could be your boss at work or work colleague. These things obviously make people unhappy and they get stuck in this situation, and it could be creating a fear. The first thing to do is to give peace to them and forgive them because they're the same as you, struggling with their own demons, trying to find what is truth and why am I in such a struggle. And they take it out on other people, and the rest of the people around them feel that energy is directed at them. It's not really, it's the person that's sent it out is definitely frustrated and not having their desire fulfilled, so they blame other people and try and push it onto them. When I've felt that from someone else, I don't let it affect me. I think, they're having a bad day. Maybe they're not happy at home in their relationship. Maybe something else is bugging them and they're just taking it out at work in a snappy attitude. That's just one example. So this is what I often do most of the time is give everybody the benefit of the doubt. They're not angry at me. They're just angry at themselves, but they don't know how to let it out. They're just frustrated. So having desires of the five senses is great, but if a desire is not fulfilled, we become unhappy. So we cannot not always have our desires fulfilled. So having too much focus on a desire will definitely make you unhappy if it's not fulfilled. And if it is fulfilled, it can still make you unhappy because you want more of it. So, anyway, going back to the people that may be frustrated, sit quietly like a meditation or a prayer environment, or even on your own. And sometimes I would be at work many years ago and I just couldn't get some time to myself. So I'd go up to the toilet block and I'd sit on the toilet seat and just close my eyes and a little bit quieter there where I just let my mind drift off to some questions or things I wanted to know. And sometimes 10, 15 minutes was just fantastic. I'd feel much more centered and go back down and face whatever I had to do. So this might be a good place for people to start.
Absolutely. And this is such a good place to start. And I'm sure this will be a good place to start. And Alan, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. I think what stays with me is how reality is not about having something fixed and that consciousness is not very small. And the question isn't whether life has meaning, it's whether we are willing to stay curious enough to discover it.
Yes, definitely open your mind to discover more than what this world has been, churches and doctrines, uh, institutions, they're all teaching us. But there's more to it than that. That's just to get you through life. But live life. Live life and enjoying life is what we're all here for. We mustn't forget that. And we put too much focus on other things, but those things that give us great enjoyment by giving other people enjoyment. So I've had lots of miracles happen because I thought too many coincidences. And then I realized how I was connecting to divine energy. And then you sort of talk to the divine energy as if it is your father or your mother. And you can talk out loud and talk like you're talking to no one. But your higher consciousness is always listening to you and it will always love you and always guide you. It can never leave you. So it is always there. So you just believe, have faith and believe that your higher consciousness is you and is listening to you and will guide you and help you. If you have some serious questions or issues, then definitely ask the higher consciousness and you'll find peace in maybe 2 or 3 days, or someone will give you an answer, or something will happen and it'll make you realize that what you asked for sort of came true. And these happen many, many times of miraculous events in my life, and also physical things materializing happened in my life too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having this conversation, Alan. And if any of our listeners is willing to connect with your work or know more about it, how do you suggest they find you?
They can find me on my website, www.alangillanders.com. And this is where my new book will be published probably in another 4 weeks. And it's called The Sacred Hum of I Am. So the words I am is what we create. We are the creator. We are creating all the time. I am happy. I am healthy. I am all sorts of things. I am enjoying today. And I am is what you're saying is actually your higher consciousness believing to be true. If you say, I am unhappy, I am unhealthy, I am sad, they are also true to the higher consciousness because that doesn't have any emotion. So be careful when we say I am, because that is what we're creating. So my book is called The Sacred Hum of I Am, because the sacred hum is the vibration of the universe. When we see planets and gas and particles all through the universe, they're all matter come together. But before that, they were all just frequencies and vibrations. And this is what the whole of the universe is made up of, and it's come together. So the sacred hum is that vibration, and the vibration comes to the word I am. That's the name of the book. So if you wish to get that book, you can express interest on my website, and it possibly will be on Amazon and Audible and a few other places available through bookshops throughout the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alan, for having this conversation. And I'm sure listeners, please go have a look at the website. It will be of much help. Alan, thank you for asking the questions and answering the questions that really matter. And to all our listeners, if today stirred something in you, sit with it, let this settle. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just keep asking, keep noticing, and that's where the shift happens. I'm Sreemedha, and this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Until the next time, take care of your mind and take care of your life.